Okay, so one of the next things we're going to do is our data. And now with our data, I do want to make sure it's not bolded or underlined. And all of our data does need to be in some sort of chart unless we have written observations. And that's usually always in some sort of chart as well. So I'm going to click Insert, Table. And I have to think about either the table that I was given in class that I want to replicate or the one I drew in my notebook. And I see how many rows and how many columns there are. So I'm looking at something that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 10 rows. So the 10 at the bottom next to the 2. And then I have 4 columns. So I'm making a 4 by 10 table. And I'm going to insert that. My first row is actually my title. So I'm going to highlight all of the row grids, and I'm going to right click. Takes some getting used to sometimes, getting the right sweet spot. And once I do that, I'm going to click Merge Cells. That makes it one big cell together, which is what we want. I'm also going to do that for these two cells here. I want to merge them. So here I'm going to write Table 1, comparing celery leaf temperatures in warm and cool locations. I want my title of my graph to be centered and bolded, and it needs to be very descriptive. It needs to be exact for what was being collected. So I compared the temperatures in warm and cool locations. So here I'm going to write test 1, warm location, test 2, cool location. These are also going to be bolded and centered. This is going to actually be blank for now. Then I'm going to put 0 hours. And over here, I'm going to start writing what I actually measured. So the first thing we did was the bag plus the cup, and we measured everything in grams, so lowercase g. Then I measured the bag plus the cup plus the water in grams. Then I measured the bag plus the cup plus the water plus the celery, all in grams. And the next thing I'll need to do is initial water only in grams. And what that is, and I'm going to put a little bracket, is our first one, bag plus cup minus bag plus cup plus water. And I'm going to put that into italics. So if I highlight it, the little I or Control I makes it italics. And I can actually make that a little bit smaller as well. I'm going to put the minus sign there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the 0 hours. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 cells down, right click, and I'm going to merge them because all of these are for 0 hours. And I'm going to do the same thing for after 24 hours. So I copied and I'm pasting. Okay, so then I've copied and pasted the titles bag, cup, and water, and I've moved it to the next couple of rows. And now I'm going to make sure I put the word 24 or the number 24 and the word hours next to it, because this will be where we record the data after 24 hours. And once again, we're going to highlight some of those cells and merge them together. This is also where sometimes you will need to insert the data as a new page. So if you click in front of the word data and do Control Enter, it'll go to a new page for you so you can see it all in one page. It'll be easier to read. I'm going to continue to merge my cells. And there we go. So now I have my data table. And once I have my results, I just need to fill them in. I can keep this as black font, or I can change it to a different color. I also just want to real quick make my headings bold so that I can tell them apart from the data. So the warm location bag and cup was 10.7 grams, and in the cold location was also 10.7. Bag, cup, and water was 112 in the warm, and 114.4 for the cold. With the celery, it was 132 in the warm and 134.4 in the cool. So then the initial water only was 101.3 and 103.7. So that was our initial water for 0 hours. And after 24 hours, we have our bag and cup again was 10.7 from the previous day. Bag, cup, and water on the second day was 101.1 for warm and 111.6 for cool. Bag, cup, water, and celery was a little bit less than that. It was 121 and 124. Then we do our initial water only. So, or not initial water, it should be final water. Let me fix that. Final water. For the warm was 90.4 grams, and for the cool was 100.9. I actually need to add one more row. So I'm going to click Tab, and that will make one more row. And I need to decide or figure out how much water transpired totally. So for here, I'm going to take the final water and minus the initial water. So for the warm location, it was a negative 10.9 grams and negative 2.8. So we can see that 10.9 grams is much greater than 2.8. So we can see that it evaporated quicker or transpired quicker in the warm location than it did in the cool location. And you'll need to understand that for your conclusion, which will be the next video.